Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, and this is episode 45. We were supposed to be talking to our living legend, our bull rider, Danell Tipton. He's a police officer during his real life, and he got caught up last week in in an arrest situation. We were hoping he would be able to make it this week. He thought he could get on with us, but we're not seeing him here. He may jump on a little bit later. But so we're just going to share some thoughts about this past year and the 44 episodes that we have done before this. This was something that we took on in January. We started a couple weeks late, but we've done these 44 episodes. They're great interviews with living legends and talking about historical legends. So I really would encourage you to go back to our YouTube channel to check out Wild West Diversity. It's at Wild West Diversity at YouTube, and all of our previous shows are there. So click on the live. You'll have the menu at the top when you get to our channel. It'll say Wild West Diversity, and you'll see this beautiful green background with the horses and my picture. And so click on that, and when you click on live at the top menu, you'll get all these past episodes. And we've talked about rodeo. We've talked with rodeo announcer Kevin Woodson. We've talked with photographers and videographers like Ed Herman and John Ferguson and Coy Poitier, and these guys that were filming a lot of this history for us and capturing these stories for us. We've talked to Native American Steve Heap about the Cherokee Nation, and doing films about Native Americans and keeping those stories alive and telling those stories. We've had Hispanics, Jose Hernandez. We talked about the Martinez Bulls, who provide stock contracting for the rodeo. So all kinds of great stories available there. You can go to wildwestdiversity.com and you can sign up for our e-newsletter. We will be adding to that weekly after the first of the year. We've not kept up. I've not kept up as much as I should have, but I will be filling in those stories, and all of those episodes that we have, we'll have the biography and the background information for those guys and gals that we interviewed. And we interviewed some women. We interviewed Bethany with the National Day of the Cowboy. We interviewed Katrina Poitier, who's an urban farmer and doing construction and building farms and building different things out at the urban farm and doing master gardening and getting that certification. So then we talked to Maisha too, Isha Hearn, Marvin, I guess, her she's married into the Hearn family. But we talked about her and event management and events and putting on events, and how cowboy and Western history is a big theme for a lot of people, especially for young kids, for birthday parties and things like that, and even weddings. She does a lot of weddings around Western decor and things like that. So lots of great stuff. Wild Bill from Wild Bill's Western Wear, and his son Lance, who gave us the Sidekick wallets that we gave away, and those went to Hatise and Ed. So there's my guy. Hey, baby. So I just sharing a few stories of what we've had, interviews we've done before, so people will go back and do the recording. But so, hey, folks, those of you who are watching and listening, this is our friend Danell Tipton. Danell is a champion bull rider and steer wrestler. And so we're so pleased to have him today. And really, Danell, we just kind of wanted to talk to you about your story. We wanted you to share, how you got into to bull riding and steer wrestling and this cowboy lifestyle, if that was always your life, or is that something you kind of came to later on in high school and college and other things? Tell us a little bit about. Oh, we got no sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. There you go.
Okay. I said I'm a day one cowboy. I've been doing this before I was able to walk.
Well, I was going to say that you rode before you learned to walk, didn't you? I thought maybe
Yes,
that was
ma'am.
true.
I was I'm sorry. Yeah, look in the trailer. I got people out here in my place practicing running barrels. They got a big barrel racing this weekend, and
Oh, good,
so they're
good.
getting ready for the New Year's Eve barrel racing. So
Barrel racing,
okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and I looked at my phone. I was like, oh man, I gotta call Liz. So, but anyway, I got into rodeoing at a right before I was born. My mom's side of the family rodeos, and my dad's side of the family raced motorcycles. So,
Okay.
I got a little bit of both, a little bit of daredevil in me. I
Right, right,
I started getting on steers at the age of 8 years old. My mom them had my grandmother them had a roundup club. They used to ride in parades called the
right,
Oklahoma City
right.
Paraders.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
sure.
I used to ride in parades and stuff when I was a kid. So going to the rodeos after the parade, bull riding was one of the most thrill seeker events of rodeoing that everybody watched.
Right, right,
So that's kind of what I was aiming towards, and it was interesting. So every rodeo I went to, I just got up on the back of the bucket chutes and started, just kind of watching the bull riding.
right.
And then
Yeah, seeing what they
had
were
my
doing.
I had my chance at 8 years old. They had a play day not far from my house, and they had some junior bulls.
Uh-huh.
A guy by the name of Arthur Stoner.
Right,
Arthur
sure.
Stoner rode bucking horses.
Yeah, yeah.
Arthur's the first black world champion in an International Pro Rodeo Association. He's a four-time world champion bareback rider.
Uh-huh.
Um, Arthur's dad was in my mom's in Roundup Club. So when Arthur started kind of getting into the bareback riding, he kind of taught me the ups and the downs about the how to ride a barrel.
Right, yeah.
So that's how I started. I started on a barrel in the trees in the backyard.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
from then on, man, I was hooked. Started going to high school rodeos and junior rodeos. And from then on, shoot, man, I joined the International Pro Rodeo Association right out of high school
Right.
in 92.
Uh-huh.
And from then on, I traveled with a guy named Clarence LeBlanc and Jesse Guillory and Arthur Stoner. I jumped in the truck with them, and they
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. All
they
great
showed me the ups
guys.
and downs. Yeah. And so, being in the truck with a bunch of steer wrestlers, it's probably 8 or 9 of us. This is way before we have all these nice trailers now, and
Right.
all these goosenecks and these $200,000 rigs. This is all
Rigged.
way yeah,
Right,
this is
yeah.
way
That was when the
before then. So
truck would break down and you'd have to stop on the side of the road and fix the truck. Not only that,
yeah,
you get picked up
yeah.
by the
So
next guys coming by. Yep.
we had them big Capri campers on our trucks then with
Right.
bumper pull trailers.
Yep.
So, everybody would be load up in that camper, and it'd be 8 or 9 of us in there. And I'm in a truck with a bunch of steer wrestlers. And so, once we would leave going to them international pro rodeos with Clarence LeBlanc and, Kenneth LeBlanc, it'd be so many of us in that truck. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I just kind of started like that, man, and man, I just, at a young age like that, and that's what I do for these kids around here.
Right.
I
Yeah.
got probably 4 or 5 kids out here in my place right now riding. They gone somewhere on some horses, but I I shoot. It's just like they took me under their wing and they showed me everything that I needed to know about rodeoing and
Right.
about the ups and the downs. And shoot, a year later, I'm a 2-time world champion bull rider in the International Pro Rodeo Association. So it just took off.
It took off.
From there,
Yeah.
yeah, it took off. And so when we would come back home, back to Clarence's house, from going to 4 to 5 rodeos, we'll leave out on a Thursday morning and we won't come home till Monday.
Right.
And
Yep.
when we would come back home, you know, I would just really just stay in Okmulgee because I live in Spencer, Oklahoma, which is in Oklahoma City. And
Right.
Okmulgee is an hour and 15, 20 minutes from me down to
Uh-huh.
Clarence LeBlanc's house. So I would just basically stay down there and we just leave and go rodeoing from his house.
Right.
Me and Jesse Guillory and them other guys. And so
Uh-huh.
all them guys did was steer wrestle there. So, they was gonna determine to make me a steer wrestler. So
Right.
Clarence,
So you got to
Clarence
try
wouldn't
this too. Yeah.
Man, Clarence wouldn't let me jump off a horse for 6 months. And he made me get all the groundwork together first before he ever turned me loose. And
Yeah.
My first rodeo I entered in the steer wrestling was the Amphitheater Rodeo in Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, wow.
And I won first. I was 3-2.
One
And
first
from
time.
then
Wow.
on, I was a two event cowboy.
Right, that's right. So then you rode
Yeah,
bulls and did steer wrestling, or
yeah,
what we
yes,
call
ma'am.
bulldogging, which we've
Yeah,
mentioned on this show before. But Bill Pickett, a black cowboy from Taylor,
yeah,
Texas, who actually
yeah,
ended up living in Oklahoma most of his later life, and
yeah.
he invented that steer wrestling, bulldogging, what we called in the early days bulldogging, what we now call steer wrestling. So that's exciting stuff. And then, obviously we met at Cowboys of Color rodeos. You competed and won there so many years and
Yeah, yeah,
participated with us. I mean, Danell's part
yeah,
of our mini management team. When we need something, we call
yeah.
Danell, and he's always ready to step up. And like you can tell already, he's mentoring these kids now. That because are you still riding, or did you basically retire?
Man, no, I just steer wrestle now. I just bulldog now. I ain't been
Right,
on the bull. Probably I ain't been on the bull maybe in about 10 years. I'm thinking,
right. Yeah, I
maybe
was
8 or
thinking.
9 years. It's been that long since I've been on the bull. But now I just bulldog. I go to enough rodeos every weekend. Shoot, just kind of. I'm
Keep,
um
keep
I'm
your hand
49. Yeah. So see all these boys at my house. Say hey,
right.
boys.
Yeah. Well, hi guys. These are the next generation. These are the living legends in training. This is living
Yeah,
legends in
yeah,
training. So Danell's
yeah,
one of our living legends, and like you say, he's always paying it forward. He's helping these kids out, teaching these kids, and giving them the opportunity. Because that's it. We've talked about it's not an inexpensive sport. It's a little less expensive if you're just bull riding or bareback. You don't have to have the horse. You don't have to have the steers to practice
yeah.
with.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have as big a trailer. You can go in the truck, or a lot of guys, kind of can fly in and out, or they can travel in and out. And, whereas if you're a calf roper or steel wrestler or barrel racer, you got
Yeah,
to have a horse, a trailer, a truck. And, before you
absolutely.
get out of the driveway, you spent 50, 100,000,
Absolutely.
$100,000, and then you
Absolutely.
got to pay to play. So what is it
Absolutely.
about that paying to play? I mean, you have to put your money up, and I guess is that it? Is it that risk taking, or it's that the competitive
I'm
spirit?
on a Zoom call. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like you just said, you hit that on the point. Like fathers, when I was riding bulls, when I was riding bulls, I could have my gear bag and my clothes bag. I just have two bags and I'll be gone,
Yeah,
and I didn't have to worry about, taking a horse or doing all the other stuff that these guys do now. I could just jump on an airplane or jump in the truck with somebody and take off and go. But, now anymore, since, I become a two event cowboy, I went and bought a big old rig and, I got horses I mean, this is the wrong time of the year to have horses because you got to feed them and bust ice and, thank
right,
God for water trough heaters, but
right, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
but
Because Oklahoma still gets some cold weather, don't they?
shoot, boy,
It's like it hits the border there, the Red River, and bounces back up in Oklahoma. So in Texas,
yeah,
we're going, thank you, Jesus, for Oklahoma,
boy,
but
I
it's
tell
still
you what.
cold up there.
Yeah, we get snow here. We get a lot of snow. So, and them ice storms is horrible. But
Yeah,
anyway, so going on, I joined the international. Well, back in the day, they had before the PBR, it was the bull
right,
riders only. It was the bull riders only.
right,
And
yeah,
Ty Mary and Shaw Sullivan them started that bull riders only deal. So, after I won my world title in 95 and 96. I got invited to come to an event of the Bull Riders only, and I made their finals that year. Well,
right.
that's when the PBR, kind of started their own events
Started
because
their
they
own
kind of
event.
bumped heads with
Yeah,
some of the owners of the Bull Riders only, and
yeah.
so I ended up buying a PRCA card. Uh, I ended up buying my PRCA card and my permit in June. Fielded
Uh-huh.
at two rodeos, and they let me in Cheyenne and Napa, Idaho, and Salt Lake City,
Yeah, which
and I
is
made
big
the NFR
rodeos
that
on the
year.
West Coast. Yeah, wow, wow, isn't that
So,
great?
everything
Yeah, so
everything went great for me.
so it just kind of lined up. But obviously, Danell's a great athlete. He was committed. He spent time. He practiced all the time, and that's
Yes,
really
ma'am.
what you have to do to be a champion, isn't it, Danell?
Yes.
You got to
Oh,
spend the
yeah.
time and the energy and the effort, and you got to want it too. You got to be mentally
Absolutely.
tough.
And that's why I tell these boys around here, you got to eat it, sleep it, walk it, dream it. And that's what I did.
Yeah,
And if you ain't doing none of that, boy, you ain't wanting it bad enough. You ain't as hungry.
Right.
and me being a African American cowboy black guy, just there's only a handful of us that ever made the national finals. In the bull riding, there's
Right.
7, and in the calf roping, there's 5,
Yeah.
and it's so much talent out here that we deal with the surrounding, but they just don't have the guts and the business mind to make it.
Right.
And we have a
Yeah.
lot of talent,
Yeah.
but
So many good kids. Yeah, that
exactly,
could do well, but they, like you say, they don't have the opportunity or the drive or not. They're just not sure, and they don't have a lot of role models, But Danell is one
exactly,
of those great role models. I mean, he's a great role model for all of our kids coming up through Cowboys of Color, and
yeah.
that was the whole reason that Cleo started that too, was because he wanted these younger guys to have a place to go and win some money and be in a big arena and be in an indoor facility, and be in front of thousands of people. When you're in front of 5 or 10,000 people, that's a whole different experience than being in front of 1,000 people or 500
Exactly.
people.
Especially walking off into the Thomas and Mack Center in front of 17,000 that's there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you
That's
know,
it.
my experience in rodeo, man, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. Jalen, go get the 4 wheel and bring it up out of here. I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. Rodeoing is my life.
Yeah.
That's what I surrounded my life around is rodeoing. You
Uh
know,
huh.
I ended up getting a degree in criminal justice. So I'm a police officer here, in Oklahoma City.
Uh huh.
I work for the sheriff's department. So I just kind of I stay busy. I have a
Right.
program called Reality Check Youth Program, which I deal with, kids
Okay.
on the basics. I go to these schools and do
Right.
programs, do
Right.
bullying, drug prevention, drugs and alcohol. And,
Yeah.
I stay in these schools around here. So, I just try to keep these kids focused because we have so many of them. Liz, I've been to
Yeah.
11 funerals in the last 4 months,
Oh,
kids under
wow.
21
Kids under
that I've spoke
21.
at.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it
So, I
just
mean,
breaks your heart for sure. For
man, it
sure.
does, man.
We got
This
to do
gang
it when it's
banging.
live. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
that's kind of my life around here.
yeah, well, and the sad thing is, they think it's a glamorous thing, but it's really not in the trenches. I mean, maybe at the very highest level, but down in the
Yeah,
trenches, it's not. And like you say, it's not
exactly.
like playing video games, where you
Yeah.
shoot somebody and they get up and walk away, or it's. And I think they just, like you say, we've got some other folks. We actually got a guy coming on in a couple of weeks on our author show, because he
Hmm.
was in for 10 years and he said he knew what was right and wrong. He just took the risk, and but he said kids today, he said, man, they just don't know. And he's kind of doing that same thing as you're doing in Houston, and he's a motorcycle guy too, and they're doing a lot of their motorcycle group does a lot of stuff for charity and for kids, and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
trying to tell kids the real truth about what it's really like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
it's being locked up is it's a hard, it's not an easy thing, and
Well,
it's hard to come out.
I take a group of 7 every week.
Uh,
Every other week to Lexington State Penitentiary on the Scared Straight program, and
yeah.
looking at these kids' face when they go off into this big penitentiary system, and see how these guys has got to listen to everything these guards tell them, and just see how the life of living is in there. So
Right.
if this
Yeah.
don't change your mind about doing something, wrong,
Right.
I don't know
Wrong.
what will.
Yeah.
But out of 10,
That's
if I can save one, I feel like I'm done doing something.
You're doing something. That's
Yes.
absolutely right. Absolutely
Yeah.
right. And and the sad thing is, she can't save everybody, but you never know what impact you're having with these kids. I mean, one
Exactly.
conversation, one time they see you, one time they go with you, and it's going to make all the difference in their
Yeah.
lives. So we
Yeah.
really
Exactly.
appreciate that. We really appreciate that you're doing that. And like you say,
Yeah.
it's like family. The rodeo's like family. You go, everybody's there. You see the same folks week in and week out, or as you travel up and down the road, and it's really
Absolutely.
not about competing against those other guys, even though they're great and even though the times come in. It's really about you and the animal, isn't it? And you and your skills and what you can do as far as to make to win or lose. It's up to
Yeah.
you. It's like Cleo. I mean, he's 84, and you could see the fire in his eye today. If he got out there, and
Hmm.
he hadn't roped in 3 years, and he went out and grabbed a rope up, threw it out there, and caught that calf first thing, and everybody else was going and screaming and hollering. And he said, "I always intend to win." I never went
Yeah.
out. I went out every time intending to win, to do the best job I could do. And I was mentally prepared and I was physically prepared and I had
Yeah.
practiced. And so he said, I never expected to miss. Just wasn't in my
Absolutely.
mindset. And so that's why he
Yeah.
was a champion, and the same
Yeah.
thing for you,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And that's what you just said. I mean, you have to walk that walk and talk it.
Yeah.
Only body gonna have confidence in you is you.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I got 130 something buckles in my
Right.
cabinet. So, I mean, it's just that's how it
That's
happens.
right. If you melted it all down, you'd be rich, wouldn't you? You could pay for all those horses and vet
I
bills. Well,
tell you,
that's the thing about it. Horses got to be taken care of every day. You don't get a day off. It's not like a dog. If
so
you don't feed it for a day, maybe it'll be all right. With horses, you got to take care of them every day. Like you say, you got to water them, you got to feed them. They have vet bills. It's
man,
it's a lifestyle, but if you love that lifestyle and you want to live it, you can. And if
yeah,
these
yeah,
kids, if
yeah,
somebody's listening or watching today, or they come back and watch this on the recording, I mean, we want you to know that. We want you to know that there are people like Danell, there are people like the Hearns, there are people like the LeBlancs, there are people all over the country, Texas, Oklahoma, Denver, Abe Morris up in Denver, and Charlie Sampson up in Denver. These guys were former champions and bull riders and African Americans, and they're doing the same thing that Danell's doing in their communities. So,
hmm
if
hmm
you want to be involved in rodeo in some way, and that's the other thing we hate Danell. There's so many rodeo scholarships that go unused because kids just don't know they're available,
absolutely, you're
and so
absolutely
it's
right.
getting that word out and telling folks and then going. I appreciate it so much that you're going out to the schools and talking, and we did it for years. I mean, COVID really put a crimp in our stuff, but
It
we're
did,
starting
yeah.
to go back in. I actually, I've gotten 2 or 3 calls in the last couple of weeks about, can we come out and talk to the youth home.
Yeah.
There's a youth program through the, like you say, juvenile justice department, and we used to go out there and talk to those kids every Wednesday, because they had a program and they always needed speakers, and
hmm
so all of our guys went, Harold Williams and Cleo and Kevin and all of you guys that to do this because you care about these kids
Yes,
and so
ma'am.
we appreciate that. So Danell's one of our living legends, like you say. He's a champion bull rider. You can tell he got over 100 buckles, and so most of the time you do. Most of the time you win buckles or saddles or stuff like that. Occasionally you win
Yeah.
money, and then the big, I guess the PRCA and the PBR, they paying money, aren't they, on their winners?
Oh
Or
yeah, right now I'll tell you, just I went out there to national finals this few weeks ago, during the
in
NFR,
Las
a
Vegas.
couple of weeks ago. Yeah, Las Vegas, and I went out there for some of my sponsors and stuff like that. And I tell you, man, the money it's unbelievable now. These guys are making, the one of the Wright brothers, he made right at $1 million this year riding bulls and
Right.
horses, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
wow. And that's how crazy it is. I just wish I was 27 or 28 again.
Right. That's
You
right.
know,
Right, yeah. Right. Like we started doing that 10, 15 years ago, for sure.
exactly. When I was driving bulls, I was finishing the year with at least 300,000, 400,000. But shoot, now it's ridiculous. Now I'm sitting there
Right.
thinking, God,
Yeah.
dog, the money is there. You just have to you be good. You got to walk
Yeah.
it.
You got to walk it and talk
So
it. And like you talked about,
yeah.
you've got sponsors. And that's the other
hmm
thing. That was the other thing that was so important to Cleo. He did Pepsi, he did Ford, he did Marlboro, he did Levi. He did these
hmm
commercials. And the way they found him is they came to a rodeo and they saw him at a rodeo. They didn't see him at Ford Motor Company. They saw him
Yeah.
they were looking for a cowboy. They were looking for a black
Yeah.
cowboy, or they were looking for a young cowboy or a middle-aged cowboy or whatever,
hmm
to sell their product. And so that was the other thing that was so important to Cleo, was know how to dress, know how to act, be able to talk to somebody if
Yeah.
somebody puts the
Exactly.
camera in your
Exactly.
face, because I'm sure that happened to you a lot
Exactly.
of time, didn't it? Somebody just
Man.
came up, hey Danell, I'm so and so, and stuck a camera in front of
Yeah.
your face, and you had to respond intelligently. You couldn't just say,
Yeah.
yep.
And,
You had
and,
to
and
answer
a lot
the
of cowboys just don't know how to talk. I mean, you put them in front of an audience on mic, they just don't know what to say.
yeah.
But after a while, when you're groomed for it, that means you're in the winner circle and you're talking quite a bit, so you'll learn real fast.
Right, you have to
So,
learn. Yeah, you have to learn. And like you say, you had great mentors, and all these guys that Danell's mentioning, the LeBlancs, they all these are guys that have historically, committed to this
oh
Western
yeah.
lifestyle, and they put on rodeos. They go to rodeos. They got generations of family in this. This is grandparents and parents and kids and grandkids. I mean, that was always a
Hmm.
fun thing for me at the rodeos at Cowboys of Color is, we had cousins. We had the guys, the Goodmans from down in
Yeah,
Beaumont,
from Beaumont.
and there was
Uh-huh.
and there was like
Yeah.
5 or 6 or 7 of them, and the kids started coming
Uh-huh.
and riding, and it was just always
It's a
an
family
exciting
deal.
time. Yeah, and you
Exactly.
didn't have to worry about your
Exactly.
kids. When you went to the
Yeah.
rodeo, if something happened, Danelle was going to grab Johnny by the arm and bring him down and say,
Oh,
"Hey, Johnny was
absolutely.
stopping in the rose bushes over there at the front of the
Hmm.
building."
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't
Yeah.
get away with anything because everybody knew who you were. And they knew who
Uh-huh.
you belonged to, and you could take them back over to the trailer and say, "Hey, Johnny was over here messing around, or Jeannie, or
Yeah.
Janice, or whatever." So it was really fun. Well, what would you tell these kids? Somebody that wants to do it, like say Charles Hearn, great grandson, Harlan's grandson. He's got bareback riding, and I'm like, what? Can you do that calf roping or steer rest or something? That bareback and bull riding, it makes me nervous. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't afford to lose
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that rough stock is something else, boy. My mom pulled her. She grabbed a hold of her head and pulled her hair out plenty of times when me and my brother was getting on.
Right?
Because I have a
Yeah.
younger brother. I have a younger brother that made the finals too. His name is
Oh,
D'Amico
okay.
Tipton.
Uh huh. Uh
Now
huh.
D'Amico, he came up right behind me, and it's been plenty of times that she had to set in some hospitals and all that stuff, and
Right.
but
Well,
that
you
comes with the
sure.
territory, and she knew it, so she didn't do nothing but support us. And
Right.
I tell anybody who's wanting to do this, man, just find you somebody, find you a model, an icon, somebody that you can watch and just say, hey, you know what? And just kind of reach out to somebody that's near and closest to you, could show you, the steps of any event that you want to do.
Right.
And that's what we did. I watched it, and I watched, Ty Mary was my favorite bull rider ever,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and just watching Ty Mary and Charles Sampson and stuff like that, I was like, wow, so I just kind of had a format, and this is who I want to ride like,
Right.
and I
Right.
just
I want to be like these
think so.
guys. Yeah.
Takes a lot of practice, and who was to know? I was watching, I was a kid watching Ty Mary and Cody Custer and Gilbert
Yeah.
and Alan Carrillo. I was watching them on TV as a kid. Now, who
Right.
was to know in 1998 that I'm into NFR entered with them?
Right. Right.
That,
Competing,
so
competing at the same rodeo
compete
as these guys
competing with them
and heroes. Yeah.
at the Super Bowl. Just not at a
Right.
rodeo, at the national
Right. At the
finals.
at the
You know,
national finals, which is
yeah,
the big daddy of them all. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
I'm 7 and 8 years old, 9 years old, watching Tom Mary on TV, and who was to know when I'm gonna be entered in the NFR with him in 1998?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
right.
so I did something right.
Right. Well, that's it. And you had to have that dream, and you had to have that vision for it. You had to have that vision and that commitment
Yeah,
to it. And I think
yeah.
you did. And obviously, you got to have some talent too. You got to
Hmm.
have some. You got to have some wherewithal. You got to be a good
Exactly.
athlete because it doesn't matter what event you're in, even if it's barrel racing or team roping or
Oh yeah.
whatever, calf or bull or bareback. Because
Hmm.
you got to be a good athlete to start with, and then, like you say, there are certain events, hand-eye coordination, a little more important for bull riding, balance, a little more important for
Well, I
bull
tell you,
riding maybe than it is for steer wrestling or calf roping.
absolutely.
But barrel
Yes, yes.
racing, you got to be able to lean in there and not fall off the horse, when you're going around those
Yeah.
barrels and
It's,
stuff.
it's 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 just as hard in that event as it is in any event. I mean, it's just most people think you're on a horse and you just run. No, it ain't like that. You got, I mean, these,
Got to be
to
trained, and the
me,
horse has to be
shoot,
trained. Yeah.
these horses cost so much these days. That's the event that it costs the most.
Right. Yeah,
These girls are
exactly. Well,
spending.
that was the thing for Cleo. He wasn't riding a $5,000 horse. He was riding a thirty
Hmm.
thousand dollar horse or $40,000
Yeah,
horse. And then, like you
yeah,
say, when you got 4 or 5 of those, or 10, or 15 out in the
Absolutely.
pasture,
Uh-huh.
and you can't help but when you love horses, you can't help but buy one or see one or like one, and you probably got more than you need, but
Shoot,
you
man.
just can't help yourself.
Exactly. I'm going to pick up another one in Valley Brook, Texas tomorrow. Valley View,
Oh,
Texas tomorrow in the morning. So I'm like, man, I do
yeah.
not need no more horses right now. But
Yeah, but somebody's got one, or they got one for sale, or they got one to
gotta go
trade,
get
or they
him.
got one that needs some help or needs some training. And you training horses too, as well as training some of these kids, or you just
Man,
basically
yes,
working with
yeah.
the kids?
I'm riding every day. I'm
Yeah.
riding every day. The weather prevents. Even
Right.
when it's a little chilly and I can stand it, I'm out here riding in my arena. Shit, I got horses saddled up.
Uh-huh.
So this is just something that I do. It's my life.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
Danelle, we appreciate you so
mhm,
much. I mean, the 30 minutes goes so fast, but I appreciate that you took the time. We know you're really busy. We know you got both
you
the
bet.
job at the police force. Be safe out
Yeah,
there, and we thank you so much for continuing to teach these kids and train these kids and give them a leg up so that one day they can be the next Danell Tipton. That's
that's
what we
right. That's
want for
right.
these guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Thank
glad.
you, Liz. I appreciate everything. Thank you very much.
All righty. We'll talk to you
All right.
soon. Hope to see you, I
Okay.
guess, in Oklahoma City. And if not, Fort Worth. You coming to Fort Worth?
Man, if I get
Get your
invited,
thing?
I'll be there.
Okay.
I came to the State Fair Rodeo there in Dallas. This they had there, and I
Right.
broke a rib on the first steer. A steer hit me up under and
Oh,
broke two
God.
ribs. So I was hurting, boy. And I
Oh,
ended up sneaking out of there that next morning. I had to come home and go to the ER. So,
right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll see you soon.
All righty. Sounds great.
All
Thanks,
right,
love.
you
Talk
bet.
to you soon.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Okay, bye.
So this has been episode 45 with Living Legend Bull Rider Danell Tipton. So glad Danell was able to jump on. Like you say, he's a police officer up there at Spencer in Oklahoma City, and it's really great. We didn't get to show the video, but maybe we'll do that later on. But there's a sign that says "Welcome to Spencer, the home of Danell champion bull rider Danell Tipton." And so what a legacy he has in his community. And as he said, he goes out to the schools and talks to these kids about staying out of trouble. And one of the great ways to do that is horses. We have a lot of our Buffalo Soldier programs and our other programs, after school programs, that our people all across the state and across the country operate these programs so that they can teach kids not only their history and about this Western lifestyle, but keep them off the streets, give them something to be interested in. And it's so easy with animals, horses especially. Kids are just automatically drawn to these animals and these horses, and they want to do better because they want that opportunity to ride or to groom and work around the horses and be around the horses. So well, I thank y'all so much for watching. This has been Liz Lawless with Wild West Diversity. This is our last episode of the year of 2022. We'll be back on 2023. We're here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so we'll hope you come back and see us next Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail.